Churchillian, isn't it? What an orator he is. Unbelievable.
Who talks like that? I
Yeah.
mean, who, what,
Britain.
what is he talking about? Honestly, I'm lost for words as to how that man manages to make something that actually is potentially quite exciting sound so incredibly bureaucratic and dreary. It's really quite an art
It-
to
it-
be
yeah,
to
yeah,
be that bad.
yeah, you're right. He could make a sort of erupting volcano boring, couldn't he?
Yeah.
But let's try and go through. So, I mean, fair play. This is encouraging, let's put it that way. It involves, as he said, no tariffs on steel. That's very good. Most car tariffs, which were up to 25%, will be reduced to 10%. Aston Martin and Rolls-Royce car parts, I'm not sure if it's cars completely, but they're going to be tariff free. I assume that's because a lot of rich influential Americans want to buy Aston Martins and Rolls Royces, and aluminium. Steel and aluminium will also be tariff free. There are agricultural aspects to this, pharmaceuticals, and so on and so forth. So it adds up to the fact that actually, if you add it all up, our tariffs with America will still be higher than they were before Liberation Day, but they're a lot better than they were yesterday, if you see what I mean. So the unions are hailing this as a good day. A lot of jobs will be saved by this. So, okay, I'm going to say this now. You see these teeth? They're gritted. Credit where it's due. This is quite good, isn't it?
Well, I don't know whether it's quite good.
Thank you. I knew you'd bail me out. Go on. What's bad about it?
I mean, what I would say is it's very good for the principle of Brexit. This sets us on a very different path to the EU. And for that reason, it must be an absolute shocker to so many of Keir Starmer's supporters and the left-wing establishment, because there they were hoping that Starmer, who's repeatedly said he wants indicated he wants a reset with the EU, he wants closer alignment, he has now very firmly set us on a different path because we're tied into these deals. So whether or not we end up being a net beneficiary or whether we end up being slight losers out of it or even heavy losers out of it, I'll tell you one group that are the losers, and that is the Ramonas. I think he's put them out of business.
Yeah, this is what is interesting, isn't it? So yesterday, again, it wasn't exactly perfect. There were some serious drawbacks to the Indian trade deal. As we discussed, the 25%, rather the exemption for Indian workers who come here to work and live exempted from national insurance, which we learned today will cost Britain £200 million in lost tax and set up all sorts of inequalities that are going to cause problems. Employers will want to employ Indian workers over British workers because they're going to be that much cheaper. So there's lots of problems with it, but it is a $5 billion trade deal, and now we've got the American deal. Now what Starmer and the gang will be loath to confess is both of these agreements are because of Brexit.
Well, completely. And that's it now. There's no turning back. We're locked into these deals. We can't now just, rejoin the EU in all but name. And that's a great thing. And you're right. Starmer has achieved what his predecessors manifestly failed to do. Rishi Sunak would have loved to have been able to deliver a US trade deal, as would certainly Boris Johnson. He would have been over the moon to be able to deliver a US trade deal. I just do have some concerns. You mentioned about the cars. Well, we get to export 100,000 cars at tariffs of 10% instead of what he'd put them up to. But it's worth remembering that pre-Trump, the tariffs were a quarter of that. So people shouldn't get too carried away with that. I'm also very worried, without having looked at the detail, nobody really has yet, who's not been inside the negotiations, about a flood of cheap agricultural products. And what does that mean for our farmers? So it's far from clear who the winners and losers are going to be out of this. But let's not forget, Trump is the arch negotiator, he's the arch deal maker, and I'd be very surprised if he struck a deal that he doesn't think gives his side a bit of an advantage over us.
Yeah, I agree with that because if there's one thing you know about Keir Starmer, he is the world's lousiest negotiator. He gets a lot of agreements because he caves in
to everything.
Yeah, caves into everything. I mean, this is by no means an ideal deal, but it is better than no deal, to be honest with you. You'd agree with that.
I think it's made us sound like a player. You know, I listen to Trump, you know, he's bigging up our economy, bigging up our importance in the world, and bigging up the special relationship. And it's all too easy for commentators like myself to say, oh, it's all meaningless and it's all negative and America doesn't care about the UK. I think today what happened was that Trump demonstrated that he does care about the UK. And in credit to Starmer, despite the fact that you could hardly get two more different leaders, he has pulled something off.
Yeah, indeed. I'm just reading the Guardian's version. They're sort of a bit like us when we talk about Labour. They're talking about Trump in a really bad way, saying that they don't think this is a good deal, which is interesting, really, because, you know, they're very much the sort of Labour supporting paper. So the Guardian thinks worse of this deal than we do.
These people are in a quandary because their great leader has cozied up to Trump. I mean, I thought it was extraordinary today that Starmer called the president Donald not once, not twice, but 8 times. I mean, have you ever heard a leader call the president Donald? I mean, that was pretty daring. He risked a kind of Zelensky-style dressing down for that informality, but it was clear that is a genuinely pretty positive relationship.
Indeed. What do you think, old Donald? I don't know if he's spoken yet, but he'll love the fact that the new Pope is an American, a Chicago native, born in 1955. He'll like that, won't he?
Well, it's been a very, very good day for the Yanks, one way or another, hasn't it?
Are we allowed to call them Yanks anymore? I don't care, but do you think we are?
Why not?
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to bring back. Let's call them the Yanks. Bring back Peking and Kiev. By the way, now that we've got this deal, it'll mean that I can open my restaurant because top of the menu it's going to be chlorinated chicken. Chlorinated chicken Kiev. What do you think?
Lovely. Can't wait for that. You're also going to be able to have. There's going to be some special deals on beef as well, I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's an all-round deal that isn't too bad. But as the Tories are pointing out, and indeed the Guardian is pointing it out, that actually, before Trump came along, our deal, our trading relationship with America was better than this, that the tariffs were low.
I know. I mean, this is what brilliant negotiators do. They give you an absolutely horrendous deal and then make it slightly better and then act as if they've given you some wonderful thing. And you're actually left still worse off than you were before. But there we go. I think in the short term, we've got to at least hand it to Starmer that he has pulled this off. And secondly, that the Ramona's dream of going back into the EU is well and truly over. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. All you lefties, the reason we have this deal with America and indeed India is because of Brexit, because we're no longer in that sclerotic waste of space organisation, the European Union. It is as simple as that. So that's another good thing. Brexit, I think, is kind of confirmed by this, enshrined, if you like. Isabel, another fantastic week with you. So grateful for all your brilliant stories. We'll do it again. Have a great weekend, and we'll do it again next week. That's Isabel Oakeshott, Talk's brilliant international editor.